I'm Nacho, welcome back to the channel, and the Penguin finally wrapped a few weeks back, so we can finally have some proper closure on what could be considered one of the best villain origin stories put to film. And look, I realized that my last video might have been a little bit polarizing to some of you, might have caused an upset, rustled some feathers, stirred the pot even. Some of the comments, which I'll get to later, don't you worry, were pointing out that my approach towards some of the LGBTQ elements that Marvel is so obsessed with nowadays were not that considered, and perhaps I was a bit too harsh with my critique. Some of you might even think an apology is required. I'm not gonna do it, but I'm pretty sure some of you were thinking about it. Anyways, last time we left on the Penguin, we reviewed up until episode 6. Episode 7 and the final gave this show a much more darker twist to an already gritty gangster thriller. Again, spoilers if you haven't seen them, but on episode 7, we get a flashback of young Oz back in Crown Point, where a lot of the answers are given to what happened to Oz's mother and brothers and the reason he got into organized crime. Later in episode 8, everything just goes ballistic, and the majority of the elements of the story are being closed, leading the way to the next Batman movie. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a reason why this is one of the highest rated TV episodes of all time. Yeah, it's that good. Now, for reasons completely within my control, this video took me way too long to make. So much so that other shows such as Arcane and Dune Prophecy have come out and taken the #1 spot in the Rotten Tomato charts that the Penguin held for the longest time, which in fairness was also held by Agatha all along. For like a week, until the Penguin released more episodes and took it back, and now Agatha is not even there. Damn. But the time it took me to make this video made me change my approach to this review and gave me some perspective on both shows. You see, everyone likes a hero. They inspire and give hope to people. It's cool to have a great hero or heroine, no, not that kind, in the story, and the people who write them have to have into consideration what their powers are, what motivates them, which more often than not is a sense of duty to take care of their fellow men, and the fact that a hero is often a symbol of good. But as the saying goes, you can't have a great hero without a great villain. And watching both Agatha all along and the Penguin almost at the same time made me realize that writing a villain is sometimes harder than writing a hero. Because a hero can be inherently good. They'll have their flaws, their weakness and tribulations they need to overcome, but at the end of the day, you know they'll be the good guys and that they'll save the day. However, when you write a villain, granted, you can have elements of natural evil to them, kinda like Damien in the Antichrist, but there has to be more layers to explain what drives them to become evil, otherwise they become very linear. They can't just be pricks for the sake of it, like Destiny. And we can even get more convoluted by including anti-heroes into the mix. But for the sake of my sanity and the time it's gonna take me to edit this, let's keep it simple. In the case of both stories, one of the critiques I had on Agatha's backstory was that she was evil for the sake of it. She fed on witches to increase her power, and his son being born with an early expiration date did not affect or contribute to her being more or less evil. Take him out of the equation, and the show remains the same. Agatha didn't chase power to save him, she just did it because she loves power. That's her ability. She killed hundreds of women just out of greed, and that feels a little bit too simplistic to me. Now, Oswald Cobb is also motivated by greed. We learned that after his brothers died, or rather were killed by him, he seeks to become wealthy to provide for his mother, who, very understandably, lost her fucking mind after her sons died. But later we find out that the real reason for Oz's greed is not to provide for her mother, but rather fulfill a selfish need for third-party validation. Even after her mom begged him to kill her if she ever went into vegetative state, he keeps her alive and moves her to his apartment once he takes control of the crime families of Gotham. Even after Sophia threatens to kill her if he doesn't confess to killing his brothers, he remains steadfast, as he would rather believe his own lies than hear his mother say that she's disappointed in him. That, or lack of a better word, is pretty fucked up, but it's one of the building blocks that make the character of the Penguin. The thing that really shocked me, and again, spoilers if you haven't watched the episodes, is the fate of Victor. Now, a lot of people in the comments said that they didn't like the character of Victor, and I understand why. He's an accidental sidekick that's played by a rather unknown actor that it's like an apprentice supervillain for us. But as I explained in my last review, both him and his mom are what roots the character of the Penguin, humanizing him a bit considering how much he cares for them. And that's what really makes this twist crazy. Because after all they went through, Victor giving up his freedom and his girl to help Oz build his empire, I was convinced that he was gonna go up with him and become his right-hand man or one of his main lieutenants. But no, and this is where the show's writing shines with one of the best plot twists I've seen in a while. Oz kills Victor. He chokes him out, saying that he can't take him further alongside him because he cares for him too much, and he can't have a weakness like that. And that was cold. In The Dark Knight, the Joker makes a plan to rob a bank and tells all the henchmen to kill the next guy after they did their job, leaving him as the last man standing. That was a cunning level of evil, but Oz, despite being able to plan ahead and pull quick ones on his enemies like he did with Sophia, he's also very impulsive and acts on his emotions, which makes him unpredictably evil. So at what point did he decide that Victor needed to go? Was it after he won? After his mother was kidnapped, or after Vic told him he considered him family? The Twitter page of the Penguin played with this event after the finale, and I'll say, that's really good marketing, cause I did not see that coming. Someone commented after Oz shows up with his comic book accurate suit that he forgot the he has to earn the comic book suit cliche since the show was so good, which is a way of saying that he won the comic book suit, which I also think is a weird thing to say. Hugh Jackman only earned several of his comic book suits this year after playing the character for 20 odd years. Deadpool earned his suit in the first half of the first movie, because otherwise it would have been pretty hard to carry the film. But I'm going off topic. Another person commented that he didn't really earn the suit as he was more playing pretend of what he thought a wealthy person would dress like, since all he knows about that world is seeing Fred Astaire movies as a kid. That links us to his childhood, the mommy and the validation issues that basically make his character. And that is cool, because all those elements are presented well enough, allowing you to make the connection and go, right, because he used to watch those movies with his mom as a kid. They are important to him, thus making you feel like you know the character and understand a bit better why he is how he is. And from a personal point of view, I feel like that doesn't happen often nowadays. It could be that, thanks to this channel, I've been blessed with the opportunity to watch the entirety of shows like Resident Evil, Agatha All Along, Rings of Power, The Witcher Blood Origins, The Acolyte and She-Hulk. Shows written by people who shouldn't be allowed within a mile radius of any production studio and that shouldn't have been given the ridiculous budget some of them got. And what I love about this is that it's not exactly a gender thing. Some of the bombs that I mentioned before were written by women who shouldn't have been in charge of writing superheroes, fantasy or sci-fi, given that they didn't have neither the experience nor the good intentions behind them. The Penguin was written by a woman, Lauren LeFranc, who had plenty of experience with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A very decent show, if I may add. Some of the credit is going to Matt Reeves as executive producer, which of course is awarded given that he probably had some oversight over the production. He also said that the next Batman movie will have several scenes featuring Oz, but the creator of this work of art is Lauren. So let's give her more shows. In my previous video I said that I didn't have any negative critiques about the show given that it was overall pretty good, but at the end I did find some. For example, when Sophia decides to blow up an entire section of Crown Point, causing a huge disaster in the neighborhood, that event was big enough to have Batman get involved in it. Similar to the assassination of the entirety of the Falcon family at the hands of Sophia, sure, they were a crime family, but that's probably something that the best detective in Gotham would surely want to have a closer look at. So in those moments I felt like the show pushed the boundaries a bit too much on how chaotic things could get before Batman started to notice them. But other than that, the show was pretty awesome. It was made for the average comic book fan. It's well written, greatly acted, has great effects, great costume and a terrific cliffhanger. There's a lot of talk about a second season, which I think is a no-brainer considering how successful it was within the fandom. And that's another thing that made my critique of Agatha not suit very well with some people. Because Agatha as a show, thematically, is aimed at a very particular target audience, who I'm sure loved it, but in my opinion, it's not that good of a show. Half of it is bad, has like 3 episodes that are decent, and some of the casting and writing is lackluster to say the least. So it wasn't made to please the majority of the fans. Now, me saying that the show is gay as fuck is nothing more than me calling out the facts.
Humongous energy, it can feel my veins vibrating.
Oh my.
It was written, acted and marketed that way. If you get offended by that, that's your problem. I can only control what I say, not how you'll react to it. Granted, the shows are very different in both their aesthetic and their target audience. The show that outperformed was the one aimed at the majority and the one made better as a whole, and the one that's most likely getting renewed. So the people that got angry at me for calling the show gay and saying, and I quote, "You do this when most media is aggressively straight," to which I say, is the solution then making everything aggressively gay? Like, don't say it, 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 lesbian relationships. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but the first thing that Rio and Agatha did after she came out of the road was trying to kill each other. While Rio was saying stuff like, "Why don't you want me?" and "I still love you."
What do you mean by that?
And one of them succeeded. Look, you don't have to like my opinion, but at least watch the video before you start talking shit. To summarize, The Penguin is a great show, and I don't doubt that we'll see more of it, and potentially more spin-off with the origin stories of other villains. I love Arnie, but I think it's time we get a new Mr. Freeze. And Agatha unfortunately joins the ranks of Marvel shows and movies aimed at the audience that doesn't really want comic book inspired shows. They want queer and LGBT friendly shows that represent them, that also happen to be comic book themed. Look, I'm not saying that's a bad idea, I'm just saying that I wouldn't pitch my new anti-age facial cream that reduces 80% of wrinkles for a younger look at a sports bar. The audience is the audience, and they know what they like. And they like The Penguin. But if you watch this fine video, leave a like. Check out this video next for my other review of Agatha vs. The Penguin. And as always, I've been Nacho. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.